Hi, I'm Barry Craig. Inviting you to join me for my next Barry Craig Notebook, where my guest will be Dr. Marius Maxwell and his wonderful P51 Mustang fighter plane and his Soviet MiG-17. We'll see you then. Hi, I'm Barry Craig. Welcome back. When you were a kid, did you build model airplanes? I did, including one like this, a Soviet MiG-17 fighter jet. So you can imagine my surprise when I was leaving school the other day and heard a jet engine noise and looked up in the sky and expected to see one of these Lear jets, but no, it was this Soviet MiG-17 streaking through the heavens. The MiG-17 was a souped-up version of the Soviet MiG-15. The MiG-15 became famous for battling U.S. jets, notably the F-86 Sabre, during the Korean War of the 1950s. American pilots were impressed with the firepower, speed, and maneuverability of MiG-15s, which the Soviet Union supplied to China and North Korea. MiG-15s were still rolling off assembly lines in the Soviet Union when work began on an improved version of the fighter. The new plane was the MiG-17. To improve performance, designers slimmed and lengthened the fuselage, thinned and swept back the wings to 45 degrees, and added a taller tail. The MiG-17 also had a more powerful jet engine. The MiG-17F version included an afterburner, which made the warplane supersonic. MiG-17s could fly faster than 700 miles an hour. The MiG-17 first reached units of the Soviet Air Force in 1952. Various versions of the jet flew in the air forces of 25 countries, most of them communist. It was known for its rugged dependability. MiG-17s were even capable of taking off and landing from grass airstrips. MiG-17s were built in the Soviet Union, Poland, Czechoslovakia, and China. In Poland, the MiG was known as the Lem 5 and Lem 6. In China, the warplane was the Xi'an 5. Compared to modern jets, the MiG-17 is small, only about 37 feet long and 31 feet across, wingtip to wingtip. Empty, the plane weighs about 8,600 pounds. The MiG-17 came in high-altitude interceptor and ground attack models. MiG interceptors were designed to shoot down U.S. bombers and fighters at altitudes up to about 55,000 feet. MiG-17s also were equipped with external fuel tanks, one under each wing, that could be jettisoned before engaging in enemy air combat. The extra tanks boosted the MiG's range to 870 miles. The MiG-17 packed a powerful punch, nose-mounted, rapid-firing twin 23mm cannons and a single 37mm cannon. Later model MiG-17s could fire air-to-air missiles as well. The MiG-17 arrived too late to fight in the Korean War, but it did see combat in the Vietnam War. The North Vietnamese Air Force was equipped with MiG-17s. In a dogfight, the outdated MiG-17s were at a disadvantage against missile-firing U.S. F-4 Phantom jets, but bomb-laden U.S. fighter bombers were vulnerable to MiG-17 attacks. The North Vietnamese also flew the missile-firing MiG-19 and MiG-21. The MiG-21's performance was similar to the F-4's, but some North Vietnamese air aces preferred the MiG-17 to the MiG-19 and the MiG-21 for the MiG-17's agility and powerful cannons. With the advent of the MiG-21 and other more modern Soviet fighter jets, the MiG-17s and 19s were relegated to second-line fighter squadrons and training units. When the Soviet Union collapsed and the Cold War ended, many American and other Western aviation enthusiasts bought MiG-17s as military surplus and turned them into fast private jets. Only about a dozen MiG-17s fly in the United States. One is owned by Dr. Marius Maxwell, a Paducah neurosurgeon. The most obvious question: how does a Soviet jet fighter and an English-born neurosurgeon find love in Paducah, Kentucky?
Well, Barry, the answer to that question would take many hours to explain. Basically, this is a 40-year-old Polish princess. I've had her for a year, and as Shakespeare would have said, we're star-crossed lovers, we were fated to meet.
Tell us a little bit about the history of the plane.
It's a 1962 Polish MiG-17F, NATO codename Fresco. It was built in Poland, as many of these aircraft were built in excess of 21 different countries, obviously beneath the umbrella of the Warsaw Pact, as it then was known. And to the best of my knowledge, it saw service in the Polish Air Force, being put out to pasture in a training squadron in the 70s. It was imported to this country by a friend of mine, a retired airline captain who does air shows, in 1992, and he sold it to me in he sold it to me last year.
How did you learn to fly it?
I went out to New Mexico. There's a very good school that teaches basic air combat maneuvering and basic control of vintage jets in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And over about a 7 or 8 month period, I made multiple trips out for weekend sessions. I learned to fly in a two-seat MiG-15, what they called 15 UTI or UTI, which was a training variant, since there were never any 17 training variants. And once I had my MiG-15-17 ticket, I came back, and the aircraft was already here, and did my first solo from Barkley Regional Airport.
So your first ride in this was your solo flight. You had never flown one of these before.
Yeah.
That might have been a bit edgy.
It was. The switchology is slightly different. The cockpits are laid out differently. I was bolstered by the fact that the cognoscenti say the MiG-17 is slightly more forgiving than a 15. They're both tactical swept-wing interceptors, and they are both used to very high speeds. Luckily, I fly a turboprop, which is pretty fast, and so I was able to transition without too much difficulty.
How about the vital statistics? Height, weight, length, speed, armament, and so on?
Basically, it weighs approximately 10,000 pounds, depending on the fuel load and what armaments are on board. This aircraft was the LIM 5 variant, which was a tactical fighter interceptor. Therefore, it was perhaps the most lightly armed and the greatest power-to-weight ratio of the multiple variants of MiG-17.
So this was an interceptor?
This was a fighter interceptor.
So as B-52s or long-range American bombers came over, this would have gone after them?
Yes, this was basically designed to take off from a forward airfield, engage the afterburner. This was the first jet that actually, the first operational jet which was equipped with an afterburner, climbed to altitude 30s, 40,000 feet. Its ceiling